Hello, hello. Welcome to PB&J. Pam and Betty go together like peanut butter and jelly. Today we're going to discuss a topic that a lot of people don't like to talk about openly, grief. I'm Pam.
And I'm Betty. We'll be sharing our personal experiences with grief, how we've navigated through it, and ways to find resilience and hope.
Well, I guess first I'll talk a little bit about grief. I guess it's been 2 years or a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
It's been about a year and a half that one of my best friends, Deidre, passed away suddenly. She had an aortic aneurysm, and so it wasn't expected. And it's been very hard for me dealing with her death. I think a lot of reasons. First, I think, you think you're going to have people with you your whole life. Like we always joked about when she retires, the stuff that we would do. And also when people that are your age die, then you start thinking of your
own mortality.
Yeah. So it's been a weird year and a half since she's passed. And it seems like everything I do reminds me of her. Like last night, Michaela and I were at Chili's and somebody passed by with some fajitas and she loved fajitas. And I was like, man, or sometimes I'm home and my daughter, Michaela, will look at me and go, "What's wrong, Mom?" And then she goes, "Deidre." And so she knows that I'm feeling sad or whatever. But what we're going to talk about today, navigating grief. And tell us a little bit about your grief story, Betty.
Sure. I've had quite a bit of grief recently. I want to say since maybe 2020.
Yeah.
I come from a very big family. My mother has lots of brothers and sisters, and we were raised that our cousins were like our brothers and sisters, and my aunts and my uncles were, also like my parents. And within a 6-month period, I lost 3 of my aunts.
Yes.
Particularly 2 of which, I was at their house every single day from the time I was a baby.
Yeah.
So that was very difficult, to deal with. And then my dad passed away.
Yeah.
Earlier this year. And even though he had been sick and progressively getting worse, he lived with me.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult to have them, one day he's there and then one day he wasn't.
Yeah.
But you still felt his presence in the house. And I think too, I tried to be, my brother was very close to him.
Yes.
So I tried to be strong for my brother and strong for my mom. So I kept my grief internal.
Yes.
Because I didn't want my mom to feel hurt because I was crying. And so it's been very difficult because my coping mechanism for managing the grief has been to just keep my brain really, really busy.
Yeah.
It's only going to take me so far. I know that I'm going to come to a breaking point like any minute, know?
Well, it's funny because I remember we were talking about when your aunts passed away, and I remember you saying that you hadn't cried. Have you cried? Yeah, that's not good.
I'll tear up.
Yeah.
But I haven't had that like soul crushing cry, like that ugly cry with the snot and the boohooing.
Yeah.
I haven't done that because I don't, and I haven't purposely kept myself from doing it. I think it's something internal that's keeping me from not breaking apart like that.
Yeah.
So it's been, so I'm not sure when it's going to happen. I know it will.
Well, I wonder, will it though? Does it have to happen? I don't
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I remember when Deidre died, I was at Michaela's school and she had left something. So I had to go back to the school to take it. And I remember calling Deidre that morning to complain about Michaela. Like, girl, look at this. I'm going back to the school. She left something and she didn't answer. But I didn't think anything of it because sometimes she has a morning meeting or whatever. And then I was at the school waiting and my phone kept ringing. And I was talking with the receptionist at the school. And the phone rang like 3 times and it was the same number. And I said, well, gosh, this person must really need me if they keep calling like this. So I answered the phone and the lady said it was Deidre's cousin. And she said, Deidre's been in an accident. And I said, okay. And she said, and she died. And I said, oh, okay. Let me speak to her mom. Just like that. So she said, hold on. So I said, hello? And she said, yes. And I said, I just started crying. And then her mother started crying. And then it hit me because it didn't hit me right away. It was like, she was in an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dead. Like, that doesn't sound right,
Yeah.
So then I just said to her mother, I said, well, where are you now? And she says, I'm at the hospital. And I said, okay, are you going home? She said, yes. And I said, I'll meet you at the house. So when I got off the phone, I cried, but I was at the school and the lady, the receptionist could hear everything going on. And I told her, I said, my best friend just died. So she said, come with me. And she took me to a little area and got me some water. And I sat down and I cried a little bit. And then Michaela came to get her stuff that she left. And I said, there's been an accident. Deidre was in an accident and she's dead. And Michaela said, oh, okay. I said, well, get your stuff because we have to leave because I know she wasn't going to be able to function. And so I cried a little bit, but then it's not a joke, but I always say you can't outcry the crier.
Yeah.
So you can't outcry the person that is perceived to be closer than the person than you are. So I had to kind of bottle up everything because I couldn't go over to her mother's house and outcry her.
Yeah.
Because then I'm a problem. I'm not making the situation any better. And I think the way I was raised, my mother always said, when something bad happens, you have to put your thinking cap on and you have to do everything that needs to be done. And then later you can cry. But you can't plan a funeral. You can't plan anything if you're so emotionally distraught that you can't think. But in doing so, I don't think I ever went back and kind of sat with it.
I think too, we start compartmentalizing things.
Yeah.
And, I had a lot of grief like back to back to back to back.
Yeah. And health problems in between that too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another podcast.
Yeah.
But I think too, it's like, we're at the age where we're still too young to be losing friends that are our age.
But
in our minds,
Mm-hmm.
But we're also at the age where our parents are much older. So we know that at some point it's going to happen because my dad was 85 and he had his health issues.
Yeah.
But I think, it's you deal with the grief. I would truly believe that God only gives you as much as you can handle.
Yeah.
And I think, when people around you are falling apart, I try to like not be the one to just lose it because I'm like, somebody needs to be like, it's like when I was young and my friends, we would all get, go out and get drunk and get hammered or whatever. I'm like, okay, once it would get to a certain point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay sober because if something happens, somebody needs to be able to dial 911.
Yeah, somebody needs to tell a story.
So I'm like, I feel like that's me when it comes to my family.
Yeah.
So I haven't really been able to like get to that point yet.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that this hasn't been a year yet that my dad passed. But his birthday was difficult because it was the first birthday.
Yeah.
Then Easter was difficult. Then Father's Day was difficult.
Yeah.
So every,
holiday. Yeah.
And then now we're coming into the holidays.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure that's going to have,
Oh, yeah.
So I'm already thinking ahead as to like, should I plan a trip to go away?
Yeah.
Should maybe my mom, my brother, and I
do something totally different.
Do something totally different so that it feels like it's different. Like, should we go away to like a cabin in Georgia or something just so that it feels like we're doing something different?
Yeah.
Because then we're going to be having Thanksgiving and there's not going to be my dad sitting at the head of the table.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to deal with that.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to double up on my meds. to be honest with you.
What, did you do any counseling or anything like that?
I have not. I do have that in my to-do list for this week, to call someone.
Yeah.
Because I got very depressed when I was sick.
Yeah.
And post-surgery, I went through a really, really bad depression.
Yeah.
And then so many other things started happening that I never really had time to catch up on it. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a recurring thing. But as far as one thing that I do feel as far as like coping mechanisms, and I don't know if you do this, but I'm really one that believes that when somebody passes away, you continue to talk about them.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you laugh about stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think you keep them alive
Yeah.
in your heart
Yeah.
when you're constantly speaking about them.
Yeah.
You know, like I laugh about like with my little dog.
Yeah.
You know, we got the dog right before my dad really started getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell my brother all the time, if dad was alive, this dog would weigh like 40 pounds.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she's like a little pug because dad would be feeding her like crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so we laugh about stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, interesting enough about coping, because we all cope like differently.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of saved messages on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking through them the other day and I was like, why didn't I what do I have messages from like 2017, like voicemails?
Yeah.
And a bunch of them are from my dad.
Yeah.
But you know, my dad was hard of hearing.
Yeah.
So he would leave a message, but then he would be like, hello. Can you? So we'd like laugh. So I played a couple of the messages for my brother.
Yeah.
I could have listened to them for an hour and just listened to my dad's voice.
Yeah.
And my brother listened to like 2 of them and he's like, you got to stop.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore. He's like, I can't take it. So my brother was like,
so
I think we all do it
in a different way. Yeah.
Whatever. But when we scattered my dad's ashes, he wanted to do that himself. And that's not something that I thought I could do with him.
Yeah.
And I remember praying that he would be able to do it on his own because I didn't think I'd be able to go and do that.
Yeah.
If he asked me to, I would have.
Yeah.
But I was,
Yeah.
And when I offered, I said, if you want me to go with you, and he said, no, I want to go by myself to scatter dad's ashes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think that I could have done.
Yeah.
I didn't even go pick up my dad's ashes.
Oh, you
Terry and Tanya went and picked up the ashes.
Oh, really?
And brought them to my house because I was like, once they were home, I was okay with that. But I was like, I just didn't want to go pick them up. And then my brother took them and he scattered them. And but I mean, we all have, but we talk about my dad all the time. And I know we talk about Deidre all the time too.
Yeah. I was at book club yesterday and we were talking about the book and everything. And we were talking about Michael, my husband, how I met Michael and how we were at the bowling alley and I would see him every week. And I finally told Deidre to go up to him and ask him, was he single? And I was saying, how she was my wing woman, And, we all, and the girls in the book club already know the story because we've been together for over 10 years now. And they were very upset when Deidre passed away because we were a pretty close-knit group. But I don't think we've had a book club meeting that we haven't discussed her in some form. Like, oh, she would have liked this book, or, oh my God, she would have loved this restaurant, or this was her favorite restaurant, because she's just been so entwined in my life. But it's like she's still there.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's still there, especially because we have the book club every third Saturday. So every third Saturday, pictures come up on memories and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like really, really cool to see the memories, and they don't upset me. I don't think they ever did. I never saw them and I'd be like, oh, crying or anything like that. But I don't talk to her daughter. I text her. She's my goddaughter because I can't hear her voice. I don't want to talk to her because I think, well, I know when I talk to her, I upset her because she knows how close me and her mother were.
Yeah.
So I avoid talking to her physically, but I can text her and I'll ask her how she's doing or whatever. And the other day I called her and she didn't answer. And I was kind of glad she didn't because I was ready to talk to her and I thought I was going to be a big girl and be strong. And then I was like, oh shit, don't answer the phone. Please don't answer the phone. So I just told her, I said, I don't need anything. I just wanted to hear your voice. And I know you're doing good because I see you on Facebook, and just kind of left it at that. But I did do therapy at the beginning because I had a few deaths as well. Before Deidre, we had Michaela's godfather. And that was very traumatic because when he passed away, I went to the house and he was still there. he had a heart attack. So to see him there on the floor in the room where I usually massage him, and them taking him out of the house and all of that, that was pretty traumatic. And then soon after Michael's mom passed away, my mother-in-law, so we had a lot of like grief and death, like on top of each other, but when I went to therapy, it was since the pandemic, so it was online, like you can see the person, but it just didn't seem very personable. And I did it maybe 3 or 4 sessions, and then I was like, "Nah, I'm done with this." I just wanted the medication to kind of numb me. And I was like, okay, I got my medication. And it was funny because I was telling somebody, I just need to be numb right now. I don't need to be able to think. I don't want to grieve. I just need to be numb. And then after I was not numb, I was able to cope. So I guess everybody copes kind of differently, but I needed to be numb to get through the days, because it was hard to get through the days, because just like I talk to you a lot, but I talk to her every day, all day long. And to not have that is like what do you do? So now when I'm driving to work or anything, I still talk to her in the car. And I'm like, "Hey girl, you won't believe what happened today." And you won't, or I was shopping the other day, and I was like, "Girl, look at this outfit on me." And I'm like in the dressing room, and people probably think I'm on the phone with somebody, because I would always call her when I was in the dressing room, and I'd FaceTime her and like, "Girl, look at this. How does this look?" And she's like, "Oh, that does not look good." So I still go through the motions, but she's not there.
Yeah.
And then we have a joke, me and Michaela, because whenever Michaela is smart mouth and says something rude to me, something happens to her. Like she will trip, she will hurt herself, something will happen. And we go, "Oh, that's Deidre." And without fail, it never happened before, but ever since Deidre passed away, every time. So now when Michaela does something and she says something smart mouth, she's like, "Oh," and then she'll be like, "Oh, she didn't get me." And then she'll trip and "Oh, she got me." It's like really, really, really funny. So we have those little things that.
And I think that's the kind of stuff that kind of keeps you like going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With me, I don't try to get numb.
Yeah.
I have to keep my brain really busy.
Yeah.
So I remember after my dad passed away, I really started getting into like trying to do like my side hustles and trying to do, monetize on like TikTok and Instagram and doing this and doing that.
Yeah.
And I had like 4 or 5 different things going on, plus the charcuterie business.
Yeah.
And then on the cruise, I was like, let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Marty's always like you need, Marty's one of our friends. And she's always like, you need to stop. And I said, no, I can't stop, because if I stop, then I'm going to think about things. And as long as I keep my brain busy, then there's no room in my brain to grieve. Or to grieve, better said. So, I mean, I think, but again, I don't think that's sustainable either.
No.
You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. But as far as.
But I think also different people's deaths are different. Like,
yes.
I think losing an aunt that you're very close to is different than losing a parent. Because I think when I think of losing a parent, that's kind of almost like a safety net, even though you've been pretty much running things at the house for years. It's safety having a father, and I think that loss is different. And I think even when I think about my grandmother's passing away, they were older. So I grieved, but they were old and they were sick, and they weren't in the best health. And one of them, my grandma Creighton, she kept saying, "I don't even know why I'm still here. Why don't I die?" Like every day she's like, "I'm still here." And I'm like, "Oh my God, Grandma, come on now." Like she was like,
ready
"Come
to
on,
go.
death, take me." So when she died, I was like very sad that I was going to see her, but happy for her, because death took you, But I think losing a friend, a close friend, it just hit me different. And now I think when other people lose people, it hurts me for them, because I know that hurt
Yeah.
now. I didn't know that hurt before. When my grandmother's passed, I was like, yeah, I'm very sad, but this hurt hit way
Because it was also
different.
very unexpected.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Deidre's driving home
Yeah.
from work.
Yeah.
It's like what we do every day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does absolutely hit differently. And then I think also like trying to find that new normal and ways to cope.
Yeah.
It took me a long time when my aunt passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Because she lived down the street from my house and I spoke to her every day and I went by there every day. It took me a long time to drive down her street. I would literally go around.
Yeah.
To avoid driving in front of her house because I couldn't look at it.
Yeah.
And so, it becomes difficult, but you have to find, again, not only find a new normal, but it's also the older people in your family that pass away.
Yeah.
You start realizing that family that you had when you were younger and that
is no longer
they're
there.
slowly
Yeah.
going away.
Yeah.
And that's hard to come to terms with.
Yeah.
Because for myself, I'm not married. I don't have any children.
Yeah.
So, I have a, core family around me, but some of that part of that core family were people that are no longer here.
Yeah.
So it does, get a little bit scary sometimes.
Yeah.
And the other day, my mom and her one sister that she has left were arguing about something really stupid.
Yeah.
And I was just like so fed up with the arguing because it was a stupid argument. I mean, it's an 83-year-old fighting with a 93-year-old. Like, what the hell? About something really dumb. And
but that's what sisters do.
And but exactly, because to them, they're still, those teenagers fighting with each other.
Yeah.
And I just stood up and I was like, we need to start getting along because we're the only ones of the family that are left.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like, kind of stayed quiet and just kind of like, and I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
They ain't no more.
Yeah.
If we don't get along, then what's left?
What do we have? Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to go home. And I just grabbed my purse. I'm like, I'm ready to leave because I'm about to start crying because y'all are just aggravating me, But you start realizing, when you have that Thanksgiving table and now there's less people at the table and there's less people at the table, it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out how to get through it because it is life.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Because I also feel that if you don't try to get through it and have the best life that you can, I think it's almost like you're dishonoring their memory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they wouldn't want you to struggle or suffer or whatever.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't want to see you, whatever, having difficulty dealing with it. So sometimes that also keeps me moving where, my dad wouldn't want to see me upset or crying.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
For him, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 But I do think, I don't think the therapy that I had was good therapy. I think I should have probably gone into an office or something like that with people. And I do still think I probably should go back to therapy because I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah.
And then I think, am I going to be dealing with this for the rest of my life? Because I make jokes now that I have to die first because I can't take any more death. Because I don't want to go through it with anybody else. Because
you did give me the best massage I'd ever had the night before my surgery.
Yeah.
Pam gave me a massage. It was like 2.5 hours long. I was like, I think she thinks I'm going to die. And she's giving me the best massage ever.
It was a big possibility that you could have died. So I was like, at least I know.
I was like, I'm going away after like having the best massage ever. No, but we grieve forever.
Yeah.
I truly don't think we ever stop grieving. I think the grief just turns into something more manageable.
Yeah.
Or it's compartmentalized in a certain way.
Yeah.
But as far as seeking help, I think finding somebody that deals with grief, like a grief counselor, I think is very important.
Yeah.
Because, going, somebody that deals with divorce or does substance abuse, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think, someone that deals with grief then will be able to teach you certain techniques and exercises to be able to move on and forward.
Yeah.
But I don't think you ever stop grieving.
Yeah. I think the hardest part of losing a person is the personal little jokes and things that you have that are so unique to yourselves. Like me and you with our friendship, we have little in-house jokes or things that we've been through that nobody else has been through. And once that person is gone, it's like, what happened to that? You're the only one that remembers it, and it just doesn't seem as fun. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I don't.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. Like when let's say I pass away before you do.
Yeah, which I'm not going to allow, but go ahead.
We can't talk about Jesse dying on all my children because nobody's going to get that.
Yeah, nobody's
going to get that.
Yeah, nobody gets that.
I know, but you'll think about it and you'll laugh to yourself.
Yeah.
And so, you'll figure out how to cope with it.
Yeah.
And, speaking about coping and support groups and everything else, we will have links at the bottom of the podcast to organizations where you can, reach out.
Yeah.
For help.
Yeah.
So as we wrap things up,
I guess I don't know if we really helped anybody with this podcast, but we are going to have a life coach on. We've had her before. I've had her on a different podcast that I'm going to invite her. Her name is Monique, to come in and talk to us one day about grief, because she had a lot of different techniques and tips that I did use at the time that did help me through.
But I think the key thing, whether we were helpful or not helpful, it was two different things. We talked about you losing one of your best friends.
Yes.
Me losing a parent.
Yes.
And I think it,
everybody
where we are
relate.
in our age,
yes,
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think the key is just to know that you need to just talk it out.
Yeah.
But however you are grieving, there's no right way or wrong way to grieve.
Yeah.
It's however you can continually to move forward, however that looks like to you.
And I think it also, for both of us, has been very important that we've had friends and other family members to help us through
100%.
Through the grief. We have some sponsors to thank. Betty, who do we have to thank today?
Oh, today we're thanking the 55th Street Station, Andiamo's Pizza, for the wonderful dinner and salad that we had this evening.
Yes.
And we'd also like to thank the Quadracci Family Foundation.
Yes. Yes. Well, this has been Pam and Betty Go Together Like Peanut Butter and Jelly. And we hope that you can hear from us soon.